Thanks, Miranda. Joining us right now is Washington Times columnist and regular here on Newsmax Now, Tim Constantine. Tim, it's good to have you with us.
Hey, thanks very much for having me back.
All right, so we're taking a look at Detroit here. Hundreds in that city now protesting over the city's decision to shut off water to some of their delinquent customers. They say water is a human right, but that also failing to point out, some of them are anyway, that they are past due by as much as $150. I imagine that's on the low end of the spectrum. Probably a lot more folks more underwater, pun intended, than that. But you say they should not be complaining.
Absolutely not. This isn't a handful of people. This isn't someone who's hit hard times. There are 65,000 residents in residential properties in Detroit that aren't paying. 65,000 people aren't paying their water bill. The water department has $49 million worth of bills owed. So you can't just have free water. Hey, I want it free. It doesn't work that way.
Now, at a time when that city is restructuring its debt under bankruptcy protection, you also have a lot of people in that city looking at real cuts to their pension plans. Do you think it's fair for these people to complain about having to pay to get their water back on when you have also folks who were made promises by the city of Detroit that the city can't meet?
Yeah, Detroit's a mess in general, and you could look at several other large metro areas that have put some similar policies in place, and it's been an equal mess. And I think what we need to do is take lessons from this, whether we look at Baltimore or Chicago or Detroit's the worst of them, and say that's not how we want to do it on a city level or on a national level.
Let's take a look at Jeb Bush also here real quickly, because we want to talk about a passage from his book, and we're talking about personal responsibility and all this. And Jeb wrote, quote, "One of the reasons more young women are giving birth out of wedlock and more young men are walking away from their parental obligations is that there is no longer a stigma attached to this behavior, no reason to feel shame. There was a time when public condemnation was enough of a stimulus for one to be careful." Do you think it's a time to return to that rhetoric? Is it time to shame people into being more responsible?
Well, shame's a two-way street, and I don't think it's up to you or me or anybody else to shame someone for their actions. But I think Bush's point is no one feels shame anymore. It used to be you'd be embarrassed if you did certain things. Nobody has any sense of embarrassment or sense of shame about anything anymore. Not just whether it's having a kid, but it's any number of things. It all goes back to that message of personal responsibility. And if people feel no sense of shame, if they feel no sense of embarrassment, there are no rules. They can do whatever they want.
Now, going back, looking at the issue of Detroit, as we look at this in a broader term of personal responsibility, I'm sure there are people in the city of Detroit who cannot pay. That city's been hard hit. Do you think it would be beneficial for the city to work out some sort of payment plan or some sort of reduced rate for these people so they are paying something, even if they can't pay everything that they owe?
Oh, absolutely. And the city of Detroit has done that. They've tried to work with people. There's some people who just choose not to. And I'll tell you a lesson. It's an old story, but it's true. When I was a kid, I worked in a grocery store. And the first week of every month, we had food stamps come in. They were the old coupons those days. They weren't the cards the way they are now. But it was a God's honest truth. You would watch people buy their food with their stamps. And then with what cash they had, they would buy beer and cigarettes. And I watched it happen by the hundreds. And so sometimes it's not a matter of these people just needing a hand, because our society is certainly about helping people when they have a tough spot in life. But it is about responsibility. You can't go month after month, year after year, collecting free money, free water, free sewer, free electricity, free housing, free phones. At some point, you have a perpetual class that just says, give me everything for free. That's what's got to stop. Yeah,
and eventually they wind up presenting their benefactors as a theme in literature because it's the theme in real life as well. Tim Constantine is going to stick around with us. We're going to continue our roundtable discussion coming right back after this short commercial break. John Bachman will be back with Miranda Kahn and Tim Constantine. Also joining us today, Rick Unger, for our conversation. More coming up after this.